What's up, nerds? Welcome to episode 23 of The Bandwagon Fan. This is a show where we talk about all things pop culture. I'm Josh.
I'm Alex.
I'm Adj.
And I'm Kate.
This week, we're going over all the latest and current events of the past week. But before we get started, we want to remind you of our giveaway. We are giving away issue 1 of Newbie and the Amazons, written by friend of the show, Stephanie Williams.
We can say that now, friend of the show.
Say that.
Guys, we're leveling up.
We have friends. We've never had friends before.
One friend. It's still a little sketchy.
Well,
all praise Concher.
One is better than none.
All praise Concher, guys.
But the winner of the giveaway is one Ben Fox.
Oh,
hey, I wish I had an air horn.
I can edit it in.
So
I'll edit it in.
Oh gosh.
Thank you to all who entered. Ben, hit us up whichever way you prefer, probably Instagram, and let us know which address you would like us to send that to, so we can get it out to you.
Also, let us know what did the fox say, because Kate is really curious.
Oh gosh, you remember that?
These are the questions. But now, let's get on to the show.
How's everyone doing?
Dude,
doing okay.
Before we started recording, I was telling AJ the weather in Chicago is very boo-boo. It's all like dreary and rainy. Yesterday there were tornadoes. I was driving through like a monsoon. It's So I took a nap before we started recording.
That doesn't sound like fun.
That's been New York weather as well.
Oh, is it really? I was telling.
It's been gray every day, gray and or rainy.
Same here.
Hella windy. No fun.
Yeah, it's been raining and it's like a musty rain, like a
a
boo boo musty rain. Like it's
so sad.
Musty rain sounds like the rain.
So you see how gross musty rain sounds? That's how it feels.
Well, so every time you say boo boo, I think of Kendrick, because he always goes boo boo.
Well, I mean, it means poo, so it's just like a poopy, musty. It's not fun. It's not fun, but that's the South for you.
Opposite of LA today. Kate and I were at the beach for like 2.5 hours.
Dang.
Oh.
Just lounging.
Jealous.
Beautiful weather in LA.
Reading books.
Wow. That's really making me feel better. Thanks, guys.
Experiencing the drought. Before
we were recording, Kate, you said that you knew how you wanted to die or something?
Oh, no. I'm not sure.
We might as well just start with that.
This is not that kind of show, people.
Kate was like, I know how I'm going to die. I was
Let's get some context.
I love talking about death and murder and things like that, but I don't know. I don't know how I want to actually leave this earth and die.
Okay.
But I have thought about what I would like at my funeral.
Yeah.
And I want all my favorite foods, which I feel like is pretty, it's a pretty standard thing. But I feel like I want it also to be a party. But the main things that I remember at first, most important things that must be on the menu at my funeral are nacho cheese, guacamole, hummus, spinach artichoke, Parmesan cheese dip. I want a dip party. I want it to be a big dip party, and there's crackers and things like that, and I don't know.
To celebrate that you dipped out of life.
I dipped out of life.
I personally would pay for my an impersonator, someone who looks like me, to just attend my funeral. They can give my eulogy. It'd be very trippy for people, especially for my wife.
Oh man,
she probably wouldn't be happy about me doing something like that. But
have you talked to her about this?
No,
I don't
at the
think you
same
need
time,
to talk to her about it.
It's a very AJ thing to do.
That man, because
That's okay.
You're okay?
That's okay. I want her to be happy.
Meet him before you die to do a background check
and
a morality check.
Yeah, of course. But I would want her to be happy after I pass away, And what better stand-in than myself? I mean,
but you need a backup self, because what if that self dies before you? So you need a third.
Yeah,
you need to do a background check on someone else as a backup to the backup.
What if the backup AJ impersonator is jealous, so he kills the first AJ impersonator
because he wants your wife?
Then we'll have a murder mystery party, and it'll be.
And then they have to figure out which AJ is the real dead AJ, because now there's 3 dead AJs on our hands.
Okay, see, there we go. I take it back. It's gonna be a murder mystery theme funeral with my impersonators trying to figure out who killed the
real AJ.
No, not Prime. No, I'm Prime AJ, right? Ah, damn. All right, we'll figure this out. So. I'll work out the kinks.
I guess I don't know how to prove it.
Going into the multiverse here.
The main character in this story, and she's got to figure it out.
I think
multiverse of madness.
I think we should pitch this as a TV show. There is reasons why we brought up funerals and what could happen there is this lady, according to The Guardian, decided to start baking during COVID. You know, like during like around 2020, like beginning of pandemic. But she wanted
sourdough.
She wanted to learn, you know, cooking recipes. There was a lot of cute videos on, you know, like TikTok. And then I think she got bored of TikTok and decided that she was going to start looking at gravestones because people have been putting their favorite recipes at their graves. So instead of robbing graves, she's robbing dead recipes.
Wait, help me understand it. So she's going to graves and stealing recipe cards from old ladies?
Doesn't she work like? Isn't she like an archivist or something like that?
She's an archivist. So she said that during 2020, she got into 3 different things. She got into TikTok, then found Cemetery TikTok corner, found Baking corner of TikTok. And then through Cemetery TikTok, she got into actually archiving, you know, gravestones and stuff, and then found that some people, when they die, like to have their favorite recipe printed on their gravestone. So she merged Baking TikTok with Cemetery TikTok, and now she makes TikTok's baking cemetery recipes.
So this reminds me of, there are some YouTubers, I can't remember the name right now, but they bake from like recipes from like the 40s and the 50s. And it's the funniest thing ever because it's always like some type of congealed nonsense. Like Jello pasta. Yeah, Jello pasta. It's just like it's so
white
wild.
People food.
I mean, hey, I did it. I'm not gonna put race behind the food.
I was like, is Jello pasta white people food?
Well, I want someone to clip that and cancel.
I've only ever seen it at Chinese buffets, ironically.
I dated somebody who was from a very white family, and they had this handed down recipe from like the great great grandma that she'd made during like the Great Depression. And the recipe was literally called orange stuff. That's what they named it.
Yes.
And the main ingredients were like cottage cheese mixed with like orange juice and orange slices.
Oh, no.
Excuse me?
It was like they mixed like orange Jello, orange juice, orange slices, and like cottage cheese.
That just sounds like orange
That recipe needs to stay in the grave.
All
right, that one needs to just.
I'm sorry, Grandma, but you were a bad cook.
No, the family loved it. It was one of those handed down recipes.
Yikes.
They bury people down 6 feet deep. That recipe needs to be buried 12. Okay, put that thing below the earth, please.
Yeah, I don't like the name either. Orange stuff. That's just like
it's too vague.
Doesn't have a good roll. Doesn't roll off the tongue. Hey, brought some orange stuff to the party. Actually, you know, that could sound interesting if you pitched it like that.
Jeez. Well, I mean, there are plenty of things that should stay buried. And another one of these is the Sonyverse.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
The Sonyverse? What's that?
The Sonyverse. The Sony Marvel properties that Sony keeps trying to make movies for.
Yeah,
and
I forgot
their
about that.
latest great idea. I say this as a creator myself. There are bad ideas. Bad Bunny has been cast to play a character called El Muerto in a standalone Sonyverse film.
What's wrong with Bad Bunny? Bad Bunny is extremely famous.
A standalone film?
A standalone film about a Spider-Man villain that nobody knows who he is.
Of a very niche villain?
Yeah.
But it's Bad Bunny who has a humongous following, which I think was their best move in this.
I think it's genius in a terrible way.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a brilliant idea wasted on a terrible execution.
Terrible execution because they're trying to force this into the Spider-Verse.
Yep.
I guess you could say.
Is Bad Bunny stopping music? Like, is he going the actor route now?
Well, he retired.
Wasn't he in the J-Lo movie
retired.
that just came out?
Oh, he did?
Bad Bunny retired.
He was just on tour, though.
Yeah, this tour is his quote-unquote last tour.
Oh, okay.
He has retired from music.
Oh, he was in F9, Fast and Furious 9.
Yeah, I think maybe he's going into maybe a more general, career path, I guess you could say. But music, I think he's kind of just leaving behind.
Well, that dude's made so much money, and it's probably very, very strenuous to have to perform on stage and look perfect all the time. And I get it.
Yeah.
And I'm from his end, I'm sure Sony offered him a gross amount of money. So it probably doesn't matter to him if he acts well in it or not.
This just goes into the problem that we've talked about many times, that Sony is hell-bent on making their own verse, their own connected universe, but it's really hard to do that when you have very niche and ancillary characters from a bigger universe. And I think what makes this even harder, in my personal opinion, is that Sony doesn't have a streaming service yet. So it's not like they have to shell out a lot of money to make these things, if that makes any sense. Like something with what's the character's name?
El Muerto.
El Muerto.
He's a Spider-Man villain.
He's a wrestler.
I had to look up who he was because I had no idea.
Is he anti-hero or something?
I've never heard of him.
I don't think so. I think he's a straight up villain, but he's like a luchador. I don't really know much about him. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, but I think that's something that if you want to explore something like that, that's something you would use like a TV show for. I think to ask people to invest in like a movie of this character, that's tough. That's really tough.
Just hire Rey Mysterio's son. I feel like that would be the perfect cast.
Well, I feel like they're trying to tap into two very big markets: the wrestling market and the Latino market. You know, they're trying to find their Encanto, their Coco.
Well, I'm just curious to see if Bad Bunny can act. That's what I want to know, because I've never seen him act in a movie before.
I don't know if the acting is going to be as big of a deal, to be honest with you, because, you know, I feel like you can coach him well enough to be serviceable. Hey, if Addison Rae can do it, anyone can do it.
Also, he's a performer at the end of the day. So
yeah, he's a performer.
True.
Exactly. Yeah. But at the same time, this is Sony we're talking about, guys. So we know what to expect.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see like what studios like think are good ideas versus like what ends up being a good idea.
Yeah.
Case in point, movie we talked about early on in the show that we felt hasn't had a strong cultural impact, Avatar.
Yeah.
Hey, it had a strong cultural impact in 2009.
On the box office,
only
yes.
2009.
And in filmmaking, it pushed the envelope of filmmaking, but it's not a movie people talk about, like the plot or the acting. You hear about the visuals, but that's about it.
The IP's weak.
Yeah, and the sequel, like the title,
it's like Cowboys
Dances with Wolves.
Americans.
Dances with Wolves and Pocahontas, and it's very vague and generic, to be quite honest with you. And I think what always hurt Avatar, the first one at least, was just there was nothing really memorable about the specific movie itself. Like if you had to ask somebody quick, name one scene from Avatar, they'd be like,
well, I didn't even like it when it came out, because it used to play. I was in high school then, and like it would play all the time in class. Like teachers for some reason were playing it. And I just remember like the first time I saw it in theaters, like this is the coolest movie ever. And then it like started getting replayed, and I was like, all right, now that I know what the visuals look like I'm
there's
good.
nothing really beyond that, right?
Yeah.
And they're making 3 of them, right?
Yeah, and they released images for the new one. It's like the Waterworld. It's like 15 years later or something like that.
And it's prototype, right?
What's up?
Is it Is it official images now, or is it like mock-up images?
No, I'm pretty sure they released official ones.
Okay.
And then they're going to re-release, because it's been so long since the first one came out. They're going to re-release the first one back into theaters.
Oh my goodness!
Which is how it keeps making so much money.
So much money. That's a very Disney thing to do, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
So they want me to invest 6 hours of my life getting back into? Oh nah, man.
James Cameron's like, I need more money. I only own DreamWorks.
I think what's going to be most interesting about this is that they're filming this in one big chunk, right? Like they're not, like, from my understanding, they're not taking breaks between filming. So whatever the rest of the film is, they are filming them in like one shot. So because I think it's more than 3 movies. I think it's
so like Lord of the Rings style.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings style. So
it's almost like a limited series in a way. Then
almost, yeah.
Because
from my understanding, that they're filming this in one big take. So because I think they don't want to have to like keep calling back actors 2-3 years from now to do their scenes and stuff like that. And so much of it is being done with like new age CGI and green screen. Yeah. So I think they can do that. But yeah.
See, I'm excited to see the CGI, but like I feel like I'd rather just go to like Disney World and see like an interactive like Avatar ride which I know they have the Avatar world.
Yeah, I mean they have
like,
one, and
I get that. That's kind of cool because like it is visually really cool, but like I don't need to see these movies. I probably will pass because I'm pretty sure they're probably like going to be like 3 hours long, anyways.
Well, I wonder if he's going to take any of the criticisms, because I think the biggest criticism of like why is this movie not memorable is because, and I just googled it. There's plenty of articles and discussions where people talk about how like why did this movie break all these records, but then no one remembers it or really cares about it. And it's like hopefully James Cameron took that to heart and maybe it's going to make a really interesting storyline because. I mean, that's the only thing that could save it.
I feel like Kate brings up a very good point because when you think about Avatar, it feels like a prequel. Like there's not a lot of meat on the story. A lot of it is just us as the audience experiencing this world. It kind of does like what the first Lord of the Rings does, where it's like I feel like the first Lord of the Rings really is trying to get you immersed into Lord of the Rings. Whereas the other ones kind of get really deep into the story. I feel like this Avatar kind of is trying to do that. But the biggest problem was he had to sell that movie kind of as a concept, right? For those who may not know, people are very leery of James Cameron when it comes to giving him money because he requires a lot. He requires a tremendous budget. And, before 2009, asking a studio for $1 billion for a movie series was insane, right? That was like nuts. Now that's not so crazy to ask for that kind of budget if you're planning multiple movies. But back then it was a lot. And so, studios aren't really super keen on giving James Cameron a blank check. Now he's with Disney. That is the blank check. So they're probably going to make, in 40 years, we're going to be watching Avatar 33, Revenge of the Waterworld. It's
what about
be a
Avatar versus Aliens?
Avatar versus Alien. You know what?
Avatar versus Aliens versus Terminator.
Vin Diesel is in this sequel, so maybe we'll get an Avatar crossover with Fast and the Furious 44. Maybe like finally those.
Okay.
Like once Disney buys Universal, like
that movie would be cool though, because like it could be like the Terminator like shows up with like the new ride that like Vin Diesel offers him, and he's like, "We're family," and then like they both like pop a Corona, and then they fight. Whatever the main villain is in Avatar.
And it should all end on a boat that sinks, and they have to figure out who survives.
But at the end of the day, it will always be about family. Your blue family, at least.
There you go.
Yeah.
But like what you guys were saying, like 3 hours, like devoting to rewatch the first one and then see the second one. How often do you guys devote that much time to watching a movie?
I mean, it's got to be a good movie. It's got to be like Godfather level. It's got to be Godfather level good to be, for me to be able to sit down and.
I recently tried watching a 3-hour movie, Drive My Car, and it took me about 3 to 4 days because I just had to watch it in like 1 hour chunks.
Same here. That was one of the Oscar nominees.
Yeah, Oscar nominated.
It was. Conte and I both thought it was like an okay movie.
Sure.
It was priced, I think, a little higher than it should have been, but it's one of those movies where I was like, I don't mind if it's 3 hours, if everything makes sense. But like, I feel like this movie, they could have. It was one of those where like you could have cut out 30 to 40 minutes, and I would have gotten the story.
Yeah, or like The Irishman, the Martin Scorsese movie that came out. That was like 3.5 hours, and me and my dad, after 2 hours and 15 minutes, we're like, man, we're done. Like we're checked out.
I haven't seen it yet because of the.
I actually love that movie, but it's very
checked
long.
Out. It's very long. Me and my dad were like, nah, man, we can't keep. How long are we gonna be here? Like, I don't know. 3 hours, a 3-hour movie. It's a big ask. It's a big ask, and
unless if it's Earth I always say the name wrong. The something all at once.
Everything
everywhere all at once. Yes,
that movie held up for 3 hours or however long it was. That movie's amazing.
Yeah, the Batman was like 3 hours long, and I saw that twice. So,
but even that, like, I love that movie, but that still could have been shortened.
It could have been. They're making a second one though. Like it's confirmed.
They're going to be like Batman 2 now, twice as long. It's twice as emo.
6 hours. Oh my god.
Yeah, but I mean, you have the original. You got the director coming back. You got I can't remember the director's name right now.
Isn't it Matt?
Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves.
Yeah, Matt Reeves. I almost said Keanu Reeves. I was like, I got something right.
Yeah, and then Robert Pattinson will be back. So
I don't mind. I don't mind a 3-hour movie. I just think that it's a big ask. It's a lot to ask your audience to be invested. And when you have scenes like, we'll use the Batman as an example. When you have scenes of like Batman chasing Penguin in the streets of Gotham, it's like, okay, was this necessary? Or like when he's like in the precinct, it's like, is this scene necessary? Could we shave
actually
this
like
off?
that scene?
You know, but see, with Avatar, because of like how many movies they have, they're gonna have to sit there in the boardroom and be like, all right, we need an hour-long chase scene, otherwise this film's only going to be an hour and a half long. We need this to be longer.
I'm hoping, leaning into what Kate said, that like they took the criticism and they're like, okay, here's a real story, here's a thought-provoking story, and I hope we can look back at Avatar 1 and say, okay, that was a prequel that kind of let us buy into this world, and now we'll get an understanding of like why Waterworld is being thrown in this Avatar movie now. Because
you know what?
I think that's
I think that's a really good point, AJ. That, and I'm hoping that's the case where there's a greater narrative that the first movie set up, and then it's going to really dig into like what this like narrative, this world James Cameron has built is actually about.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'll just keep delaying it. Like maybe a certain other film. Is there anything else that's been delayed that's supposed to come out?
You mean every other movie?
Every other movie?
Everyone's so afraid to put their movies in theaters because they don't want it to flop.
Super Mario. That got delayed.
Mario's getting delayed.
That was a thing. If you look, the casting's pretty good though. I don't have any interest in watching the movie, but it does have a good voice cast.
I still think Chris Pratt seems kind of weird for Mario.
Apparently Jack Black is going to be in it, and I think he should have been Mario.
Yeah, did you say he's Bowser?
No,
Bowser,
Jack Black should have been Wario. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah, but now he's Bowser, and then Donkey Kong is Seth Rogen, which I think is actually a pretty good.
I know he's too old. I know he's too old, but you know what? No, they should have like Idris Elba play Bowser. That'd actually be pretty cool.
That would be cool.
That'd be really cool, actually.
I guess with Jack Black, they can't have him be too scary. You know, like they gotta have it. They gotta have him be cartoon scary.
Idris is in Sonic. He plays Knuckles.
I haven't seen
it. He plays Knuckles. Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. I actually enjoyed the first one, so I'm really
I heard it's pretty good. I haven't seen it though.
Yeah, it's like the perfect balance of like a kids movie that's enjoyable for an adult because it's not too long and it's really goofy. And I think I like what they do with the Sonic movies, and I hope that Nintendo takes the same approach because they make Sonic a kid, and it makes it so much more enjoyable because he's not like an adult doing weird things. You know what I'm saying? Like,
isn't that like the '80s Mario or '90s Mario? Like he was an adult, and it was also
exactly. Exactly. So I'm hoping that like Nintendo takes the same approach. I don't know how, because Mario has got like a 401k. He's going through marital issues with Peach. He's got a lot on his plate. I don't know how you can present this. I don't know what this movie is even going to be about, to be quite honest with you. I can't really think of there's never been a narrative in Sonic, in Mario games.
There hasn't in like the RPG ones or the Paper Castle Mario.
Okay, fair enough.
Maybe they're basing enough of the role, like the role playing storylines, but the main ones, I don't think there's ever been like a real quest. Like even Super Mario Sunshine, wasn't that just kind of you were just jumping through like frames?
Yeah,
great game, but like
Super Mario, the last one that just came out, Super Mario Odyssey, had a hilarious twist because of course Bowser steals Princess Peach and this other like magical hat. Right. And so like Mario and this hat, they have to go save their women. And at the end of the game, spoiler alert, Princess Peach is like, excuse me, I don't need a man to define me. And she's like, peace out. And so Bowser and Mario kind of look at each other and shrug. And then that's it. I'm just like, that's it? That you put me through put me through hell and back just to be like, I'm good? That's crazy.
But she still let Mario rescue her?
No, she just left. Like she just leaves. She pieces out.
I love from Mario's mind. He's probably like, she could have just left this whole time, and he never even considered asking her if she was capable of leaving on her own.
So make this like a Peach themed game.
Like a Peach theme, yeah. I would love a Peach movie more than a Super Mario movie. To be honest,
but like she needs to have her Super Smash abilities where she can like teleport.
Peach movie sounds almost like another type of movie that's coming out.
Is it? What movie?
What?
The
Barbie.
Barbie
Oh yeah,
movie.
Barbie.
If Peach had her
Oh
own movie-
yeah. See,
How could we forget
that's
about
a
Barbie?
that's a better idea. I think having like a Peach in New York style movie is so much more funny than a Barbie movie. I think the Barbie movie can be funny because that's live action, right?
Yeah.
Is it
Well,
live
do you know
action?
anything about the team?
Very little.
So,
Very little about
it's
this.
Greta Gerwig is directing.
Who did Little Women 2019 remake and
My
Lady
wife
Bird.
loves that movie.
Lady Bird, yeah.
Oh yeah, my wife
Dude,
loves
Little
that movie.
Women, the remake. I watched it with Alex a few years ago. We went on a camping trip, and then
We cried on the camping trip.
well, after the camping trip, we were at his place, and he's like, "Hey, I got to watch this movie for my film club. Do you want to watch it?" I was like, "Yeah, whatever." So I'm like casually watching, and I slowly get more and more into it. Dude, that movie made me cry. It's so good.
Daniela watches that
Josh and I
movie
loved it.
at least like once a week. Like it is always playing in our house. She loves that movie, especially because we always have a debate about the ending. Like we always have a debate like was she? I mean, I think you're supposed to kind of maybe we'll talk about it in another episode, but we have a debate about the ending a lot. So
Well, Katya, you didn't like it, right?
So there was a Little Women version that was made in 1994. I like that one a lot better because it has Winona Ryder, Susan Sarandon, Christian Bale, Kirsten Dunst, and Claire Danes. And I read Little Women multiple times growing up, and I think the 1994 version is 10,000 times better than the Greta Gerwig one.
I don't know.
I've never
that
seen
one
it.
doesn't have Timothy Chalamet. So
But Christian Bale was the Timothy Chalamet.
No. Timothy Chalamet is Timothy Chalamet.
He's
No.
the Timothy
Christian
Chalamet
Bale.
for Timothy
Think
Chalamet.
iconic Winona Ryder, Claire
Dang.
Danes.
I'm sure it's a great
Kirsten
film,
Dunst.
but I still love the new one.
Greta one.
The new one?
I didn't like the
I like
choppy
the new one too.
timeline. They go back and forth between past and present.
See, I like
They
that.
do.
Yeah, I'd
They
like
I'm
that
also
too.
a fan of Little
I like
Men,
it too.
which was a terribly rated film. Can you
Wait,
actually
Little
look up
Men?
the rating?
Little Men was also written by Louisa May Alcott.
Yeah,
so.
but they did like a spinoff of what's the main girl's name?
Jo.
So Joe, like
Joe.
she like hosts like a foster home, for little kids,
men.
little men.
Bros. Little
Look at
bros.
look at the film though.
Okay.
So like I grew up on this film and I loved it, but apparently no one's heard of it, and it has a
1998, huh?
no, that's not the right one. The 1998 version.
1998 version by
look at the
Rodney
rating for the
Gibbons.
98 one. It
Oh.
so it flopped big time. There we go. It's got a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes, but
But 76% of Google
yeah.
users
So like
it.
I feel like fans like it, but critics hate it. So someone go out there and watch Little Men 1998 version and tell me if it holds up. It's Canadian,
heard
so
this
maybe that's
movie.
why it wasn't as big. I don't know.
I've never even heard. I never knew she wrote.
I didn't know
that
it was a
movie.
book though, but I just like that a lot of people grew up on Little Women, and then I was like, Little Men, I had that movie, I watched it all the time, and I don't even know how I found it.
So
Like
is
my
this
mom
Barbie? Is this
passed it
Barbie
on.
movie supposed to be a comedy then?
I think it's supposed to be like a rom-com.
Mhm.
Oh
But,
wow!
Margot Robbie is playing Barbie.
But it's weird because
Who's
Barbie
Ken?
is already dating Ken. Ken's going to be Ryan Gosling. So
Oh my
Makes sense.
god!
Makes
Of course
sense.
he is. Of course he.
Who else would it be?
See,
Oh
I
no!
could see the Barbie movie ending with the same ending as the Mario game, where by the end of it, she's like, I don't need a man. And it's a movie where maybe she breaks up at the end of it.
Well, I
could
feel
see
like
that,
I feel like they're probably gonna go like Harley Quinn, which is ironic, by the way. But I feel like they're gonna go Harley Quinn with this and be like, I don't need a man. I can, which is weird because I never really associate Ken with Barbie, but maybe that's what they're gonna try to do.
Well, what if they try to go like the Carmen Sandiego route, where she turns into like a cool spy girl? I feel like
This is gonna be
like
interesting.
she's like a dress up spy.
Dress up.
But she
What's the
dresses up
rating?
in cool outfits to disguise herself from the mission she's on.
What's the
I like how I'm
rating
trying to
of,
figure out
of
the
the
plot. It's
movie?
probably already written.
Yeah,
I actually don't know if they released the rating yet.
because I'm curious to
There's
see.
very little.
what-
They released an image, and that was about it.
I'm curious
Yeah.
to see who this movie. Like, I'm curious to see is this going to be like a kids movie? Is it going to be rated PG-13?
It
I
has to be.
doubt
A
it's going to
kids
be
movie.
rated R. There's no way. There's no way. Who owns the rights to Barbie? Is it still
Mattel.
Warner
Hasbro?
Brothers.
Okay,
And
there's no
Mattel's
way they're going to
the
make a.
Well,
manufacturer.
Mattel.
are kids today even into Barbie, or is it like people our age?
That's what
Well,
I was wondering. Like if it's for like millennials and older.
Yeah.
I actually, because it's Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, I do want to go see this. Like I'll wait to see the first trailer, but based on the creative team, I am interested because
Okay.
I respect and enjoy both of their work.
You
I
sold
liked
me.
Lady Bird. So, I mean, I like Greta Gerwig. I just think that I'm too sentimental about the 1994 Little Women.
You're wearing
And
those
I've heard
rose-colored
that a lot.
glasses.
I've heard
Yeah.
people. The same thing with Pride and Prejudice. Like there's
Yeah.
debates over which one's better.
Remakes are always going to be like that, though.
I think it really depends on which version did you see first and did you like most.
Yeah, that's true. Because I saw this Little Women version first, the newer one. I haven't seen the original, so I guess I would have to check that one out too.
I'm curious. Would all of you guys go see this Barbie movie or not?
Yeah, I'll watch the Barbie
I wouldn't
movie.
pay to see it in theaters, but I'd watch it if it was on like HBO Max or something.
It
Which
won't
I think it would be, right? Because it's Warner.
I'd pay to see it.
Speaking of
I'd pay to
HBO
see it.
Max and Warner, there's been a little more fun things happening on that side of the industry. Christopher Nolan has officially left Warner.
Oh,
Dun dun dun.
Yeah,
that's inevitable.
You mean dun dun dun?
I feel like we should have the Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, we can edit that in.
Is there a
he's going to
reason?
Universal for his new film, which how do you say it? It's
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer. So it's about the Manhattan Project and the creation of the atomic bomb, which I think is going to be a cool film. But like when Nolan left, he was really, really like dumping on Warner and said that like he thought HBO Max was like the worst streaming service, which that's the one thing I disagree with. I think they have the most content right now that I enjoy.
They have the strongest content in my personal opinion.
I get his frustrations because he didn't with Tenet. I guess like he wanted it only released in theaters.
Only released in theater.
They did kind of like a mix of like released on HBO Max and released on in theaters. It's like I understand his frustrations, but I'm like they're kind of killing it with original content right now and like old classic movies. Because what do they have? They have Cartoon Network. They've got
they have all the DC stuff, like all the DC
Criterion collection, or not all of it, but they have a good chunk of it. The Ghibli films.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, which you can't. I don't think you can't rent those at all. At least in the U.S. You have to either stream it through HBO Max or you have to purchase the actual like box set like bundle of it. Like I tried to rent one on my PS4 at one point, and it was like you can buy, but it's like $119 for every single film. And I was like,
well,
I'm like, all right, let me just throw my credit card.
There's also they also have so much original programming that they greenlight, and I feel like it's at a higher quality than a Netflix or.
But I'm curious with Nolan leaving, especially for this film, which sounds like it's going to be a pretty big one, and it's got a really really big cast. It's got Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Emily Blunt, Rami Malek, Cillian Murphy, which I think is in like every film of his.
I love him.
That's going to be and Matt Damon.
Yeah,
Matt Damon. I mean, I definitely think that there was a very, very. I mean, obviously we don't have insider information, but I wonder if Warner Brothers was trying to get him to make more movies for HBO Max, and he was like, "I'm not having it. Like, I make movies for big screen, and if you keep trying to put my movies on a little screen, then I'm sure that's what led to that."
Which, like, understandably, Christopher Nolan films are almost always worse watching them on a little screen. Like, I've seen most of his movies in theaters, and there's been a couple that I waited. Like, I saw Dunkirk on a plane, and like I liked the film, but I was like, it was kind of disappointing watching on a little tiny like Delta screen monitor.
Well, that's part of his whole philosophy is to create something that's meant to be viewed on a big screen in a room full of people. And that's why he was so critical. One of the reasons he was so critical of all the streaming options is he truly loves cinema and cinema, like the art of filmmaking.
He's a student of cinema.
The craft,
of the craft,
and that's why his movies look so good. And like he works with so many good cinematographers and some of a lot of the best people in the business.
But you have such an interesting take between a couple directors because it's like I know a lot of directors are blaming like streaming for making like movie quality worse, but then like a similar question was asked with Paul Thomas Anderson, who just he did like Boogie Nights, but he just recently did Licorice Pizza, so he was like in the press a lot. And they kind of asked him a similar question if he thought like streaming services were ruining film, and he's like, no, I think movie theaters are ruining film. He's like,
yes,
most theaters are terrible for the sound. They're always like mixed incorrectly. They haven't changed their look since the 80s. He's like, he was like, I don't go to the theater unless if it is like a truly like cinema quality experience. And he's like, that's
Right.
difficult to find. And he's like, that's partially to blame. He's like, I would understand like why someone would want to watch my movie in the convenience of their home for like half the price, and they at least know their sound system. They don't have to like, they can pause. You know, it's like there's no updates like with that.
I'm not paying $40 for some popcorn and a drink.
Yeah.
Like that's I 100% agree with that sentiment, and I also think that Christopher Nolan doesn't really. You know, the best way I could describe this is if you equate a director to like bakers, right? And there, you know, before we had sliced bread, right? You had to go to your baker, you had to get your loaf of bread, you had to go home, take that bread, you had to cut it into your own individual slices, and then bam, somebody came out with a way to make sliced bread. Now we don't really have bakers who make bread anymore, right? So I think that's where a lot of these old crusty men are getting upset about, you know,
Crusty Nolan.
Scorsese. Yeah, Crusty Nolan, Crusty Scorsese. You know, those guys have made various comments about their dislike of, or their disdain for things going straight to the small screen. But at the same time, I also think that this gives an opportunity for a lot of smaller directors too to get a shot to make a movie, because not every studio is going to dish out $75-100 million for a director who may not have a big resume to do a movie. And so doing a couple of movies on Netflix or Amazon,
totally.
that's the place. You know what I mean? That's the place to get your shot.
Well, think of how many films are now like released by people who like before were like they were like music video directors. That was like very
that's a good point.
Like that happens a lot. Like the director even for Uncharted Gems, I think it was two brothers, right? They did music videos. The Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Uncut Gems?
Yeah, okay. Uncut Gems. What did I say?
Uncut Gems.
You guys have never seen
Uncut Gems.
I haven't seen it. I heard good things.
Uncharted Gems is way better than Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
I hope that's a movie.
But the whole. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, I was just saying, yeah, like the directors of Uncut Gems started doing music videos, and I think people like them maybe, you know, wouldn't have had the same chance to do a film how they did, like in the 90s. You know, so it's like there's pros and cons to both sides.
Yeah.
Well, there was a movie that AG you reviewed. It was a Western.
What movie?
It was a Western that you reviewed on here. It was like an all black cast.
All black cast. Yes, I remember that one. I cannot remember the name of the movie.
I believe didn't the director of that, wasn't he doing music videos before?
Yes, he was a music video director.
Idris
Elba.
Idris Elba
was in the movie. He was in the movie, but I don't remember who the director was.
Yeah. So like it is interesting. Like
The Harder They Fall.
The Harder.
Yes. Thank you, Alex.
And it was directed by the Bullets. Oh, so I guess that's weird. So it said The Bullets, but then when I click that, it says James Samuel. Samuel.
James. Yeah, he was the director. He was an artist.
Yeah, because we talked about this. He's a he goes by the stage name The Bullets, but his brother is Seal.
Correct.
All right, now remember we're I know we got a little sidetracked there, but like for anyone that doesn't know, we like brought this up at like the beginning. It was like one of the first episodes of the podcast, so that's I think why we're all like, what the heck.
So if you want to know what we're talking about, go back and listen to our older episodes, which can be found on Anchor. But it is interesting, like the different opportunities that are being presented because of how the industry is changing. And then it's also interesting how there's like the war of the streaming services. And right now, Netflix is taking some L's, man.
Yeah, they are.
I'm supposed to have a lunch meeting at Netflix coming up, so I can't talk too much because they might not let me into their into their lunchroom.
No, Netflix is going through a weird period of time because their shareholders are demanding that they make more money, and it's hard. How do you make more money when you have essentially oversaturated the market you created?
Yeah.
So they're kind of just stuck in this weird nebulous of
They could get into like video games, which I think they were discussing.
They're trying to, that's definitely what they're trying to do. But at the same time, I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure if they have anywhere else to go. I think any changes that they make, they're going to have to be lateral changes.
They'll have to essentially rebrand parts of their business.
Right. I mean, they can go into a metaverse if they want, like Facebook, like Facebook's trying to do. But what is the metaverse, right? We talked about that so many times. Like, it's nothing. It doesn't exist
as of now. It's basically it's just Second Life.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sucks, but at the same time, we kind of knew this was going to happen. We kind of known that like Netflix has had they've always had an uphill battle, and that uphill battle, it has to be fought now with Amazon and Disney and the 78 other streaming services that exist now. So I think I think this is a healthy sign, because competition, when there's competition in any field, we win as consumers, right? So,
I mean, they had some really standouts. Like they had Squid Game, and that was that was a huge deal. And then they had Tiger King in 2020, and I think they've had some gems, but everyone just likes to focus on like
some uncut gems.
Yeah,
uncut jobs. Okay. No, but the downside to that is that they don't have. I actually just had this conversation the other day that unlike Amazon, who has like these strong IPs like The Boys or Lord of the freaking Rings, and then Disney has strong IPs like Marvel and Star Wars, Netflix doesn't have that IP they can keep tapping into, that can keep people coming back to their service. They are stuck having to constantly find one-hit wonders, right? That's why they've gone like balls deep in reality TV shows, for example, because it's cheap, and if one of them is a success, then boom, you got streaming numbers.
And I feel like most reality TV is a success, because I feel like if you already are into reality TV, you're probably more than likely to check out new shows just out of curiosity.
Not me.
Yeah.
I'm not the one for that.
Well, Josh, I don't think you're ever the target market.
Yeah.
No, my wife and I always joke that we enjoy 90 Day Fiance, big 90 Day Fiance fans here. But one of the craziest things that has happened is how Discovery and TLC, they just abandoned the educational part of their networks, and they've gone full into the pool of reality TV shows now. It's pretty nuts. It's pretty crazy.
What about History Channel? I haven't watched that in like 15 years.
They've withstood the test of time.
Aliens, ancient aliens.
They have not gone in the reality TV pool yet, but it's inevitable.
They'll get there.
They have. No, they have the one
reality
Pawn Stars or whatever.
Is that History Channel?
I think so.
I don't know.
Pawn Stars?
Is Pawn Stars technically is it reality?
It's reality.
It's reality.
Yeah, it's because it's real life. It's general.
Jamie, pull that up for us.
I know they had to stop that show.
Oh, yeah. Well,
sex offender, I think.
No. He's right. It is History and Annie.
Oh, yeah.
What? I mean, I would even argue, even then, I mean, there's more history in Pawn Stars than, that's still on brand for the History Channel, because people are bringing in like World War II helmets and maces from the medieval times, and they're bringing in these things. I guess that's why it's on brand. But I mean, Discovery Channel has literally gone love reality TV shows, and it's crazy. I'm just like, this is Discovery. This is the Discovery Channel. What happened? What is this?
Discovering what crazy people do when they're together.
Yeah, they're really trying to tap into that 90 Day Fiance market, because let me tell you, TLC has gone all the way in on that. So that's pretty unfortunate.
I did not know that. My watching the content is so niche.
Yeah,
partially due to streaming services. Like I can
Josh
pick what I want to watch.
Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
dude, that show is amazing.
I love that show.
I cannot wait for it to come back.
Yeah.
Did you guys know they're making a Kite Man spinoff?
Oh, I hope they do. That's awesome.
They are. They announced that they are. Kite Man?
Kite Man is.
Oh man.
I don't know how to explain it. Like, he's almost like a meme of a hero.
Kite Man or Tight Man?
Kite, like flying a kite.
Oh,
like a kite man. Yeah. He's a great character. He's on the show, and I don't want to give too much.
I didn't know that Harley Quinn had a TV.
Because part of the joke on the show is like what Kite Man is. So I don't want to give it away, but just watch Harley Quinn. And
It's
a Kite
so
Man
good.
TV show
God,
works really
God,
well.
they just Googled a photo of Kite Man, and it's just like the
He
worst
looks
picture
like
ever.
the lamest villain I've ever seen.
He is.
That's part
and
of the
that's
joke.
point.
Yeah. That's
You
part of it.
guys
He looks
have
like
to watch it.
he's like Moomin Rider,
You know
the
what?
One Punch Man.
You know what?
Just-
We should talk about Harley Quinn on here sometime.
Yeah,
when
we can.
when the next season's going to come
Next
back,
season
we should
comes
talk
out.
about
We
it.
should talk about who would win in a battle, Moomin Rider or Kite Man.
Definitely Kite Man.
Definitely
I don't
Kite
know.
Man.
He
Moomin
would
Rider
break
has stand-up. He has stand-up
Kite Man
pedaling mode.
would break every limb in his body, but he would win.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
he would win.
Moomin Rider would stand up on his bike and he would try really hard.
And Kite Man would try really hard to fly.
And there's no wind blowing.
There's no way.
That's funny.
You highly recommend you guys watch that. If you're out there listening, you watch Harley Quinn, harass AJ or harass Alex and Kate to watch it. Don't.
Yeah, I
please
can't
don't.
believe
It's a
it.
great,
I didn't
it's a
know
great show.
it's been out for like a couple years already.
Yeah, and it's on HBO.
Yes, it is.
That's one of the things that they have. And it's a great, like, for me, it's like a great competitor to like what Disney has. Like,
Yes.
with all the Marvel stuff. I prefer the DC properties a little bit more, but I will say the Marvel like movies and TV shows are definitely better. And this week there's a whole bunch of stuff coming out with Marvel.
What's coming out, Josh? Tell us.
The Moon Knight episode finale is coming out.
Okay.
So big things there. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show is about to start, which I forgot about this.
I was about to
forgot
say,
all
doesn't
about
that
it,
start
to be
in
honest,
May? And I was like, oh, never mind. It is May right
No,
now.
that was my exact thought process. I was like,
It's-
that's in
it
May.
is
That's a
May.
ways off. And then I was like, oh no, it's
Let me
May
guess.
the
Does it
4th.
come out? Does it come out on Wednesday? Yeah, the 4th.
Look,
I knew
next
it.
Well, they
Wait.
were going to push it back. I don't know if they adjusted it again because I think it actually comes out Friday.
Well,
But
did you know Hayden Christensen's playing Darth Vader?
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, they brought him
we
back.
talked
They
about
got
that.
him for that. Wow.
We talked about that, sir.
He hasn't done any acting.
I
in
don't
a long
remember.
time.
I'll have to
It's
re-listen
been a
to
minute.
that.
We can get into that one day, but he basically, I think what we all forget is back before the internet was so diverse, I guess you could say, when those Star Wars movies came out, that guy got maligned.
Yes, he did.
Online, and
So-
people
I
hated.
always felt really
people
bad
hated-
for him.
Yeah, people hated his role as Anakin. They felt like he was whiny, and he got a lot of flack for it. And I think he wanted to stay very far away from the IP as possible. And it wasn't until the kids who watched Star Wars, because Kate, Alex, Josh, I don't know if you guys know, but kids born like my younger brother's age, so like between born like maybe after 1998, whatever, they love the prequels.
I like them.
I like the prequels.
Those kids,
never-
I do too, but
I grew up
a lot of
liking
people, don't, and it makes sense when you think about it, because like when the prequels came out, the kids who watched the OG movies were adults. A lot of times they were probably taking their own kids to watch those movies, and so they were like, "Wow, this is they, from their perspective, they're like, this is trash."
Growing
you know?
up, I love like all of them, because even in the first one that has like oh my gosh, Qui-Gon Jinn, and like just like the
Liam Neeson.
yeah,
Jar
Liam
Jar
Neeson,
Binks?
like I mean,
Yeah.
okay, I hate Jar Jar
Dude.
Binks, but
Samuel L.
No.
Jackson.
So
yeah, like I love those movies.
the Jar Jar Binks, that's another one where the actor actually almost took his life
Took
because
his
of
life.
the harassment that he
Yeah.
faced. He's been very public about it, and he's he's a pretty big advocate now for mental health awareness.
Just
Mm.
probably good. I
Fandom,
didn't
like
know that.
nerds can be
Fandom-
so we talk about this.
Yeah,
Too many people invest too much of their identity in an IP, and they get really mean when somebody kind of delves beyond the lines of what they think it should look like. And it's
Right.
really important to remember, like, there's a real human being behind that creation. You don't have to
Yeah.
like it, but don't be harassing people.
Don't be-
Well,
yeah.
I
So
want
it's-
to defend. I actually always liked Jar Jar Binks. I thought it was hilarious, but
Of course, because the movies were for
Oh.
kids. But that's the thing; they're for kids. Jar Jar
Yeah,
Binks was
yeah.
supposed to be there for kids to laugh at. It's not supposed to make your dad like love the movie. Like the movies are for kids. I don't know how many times I have to keep saying that Star Wars is for children. It's for
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
It's for kids from like 6 to 13, man. Okay, so you gotta chill when they put stuff for kids, and you're like, why isn't it this? Why isn't it this? blah, 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 blah. Okay, like it's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy, and I think it's so frustrating because it's the reason why we don't have a. Who are the directors of Game of Thrones, by the way? What are their names?
David Bennett and something. David something.
Yeah, Benny. Yeah, the directors of Game of Thrones. Star Wars fans are the reason why we don't have Star Wars movies directed by those guys. And I just want you guys to know, you messed up. You messed up. Okay, we could have had a great pair or trilogy, whatever they want to do, of Star Wars movies, but the crybabies cried too loud. And now we don't. Now we got nothing. Now we have nothing.
What are they doing out of curiosity? Like, I hope they just release something really kick ass. That's like 1,000 times better.
They're probably hiding in the hole for a little bit.
Yeah. So infamously, like they pulled. So as you guys know, they kind of expedited the ending of Game of Thrones because they wanted to kind of move on to other projects they had. They had two projects kind of lined up. They had the Star Wars trilogy or whatever it was that Disney wanted to do. And then they had this show called, I think it was like Civil War, I think the show was called. And I think they even had like a pilot for the show and everything. And it was basically about like, what if the South won the Civil War? Sorry, I take it back. I think the show was called The Confederate. I think that's what the show was called.
It was called Confederate.
Confederate, yeah. And then it was basically about like, I think it took place, if I remember, Katya, you might help me, but I think it took place in like the 60s or the 70s or something like that. And it was basically like a world where the South have won, and the show was supposed to be about like the second revolution, basically.
And they have something like they have like a DMZ. It's called the Mason-Dixon Demilitarized Zone.
Yeah, the demilitarized zone. So it was supposed to be like, we as the audience were supposed to jump in at this time where this revolution is being started by Black Americans. And the reason why the show never actually got fully greenlit is because this is around a lot of like when like the Black Lives Matter protests and the us versus them mentality that has kind of been supercharged in politics. So I think HBO probably felt like it was too sensitive of a topic to kind of jump in.
I've never even heard of it.
In the show, if the Confederates had won and owned the South and got to carry on their ways, then that would mean slavery was still legal. So they would have had to have that in the show, like an element of the show. And I think, because of 2020, summer 2020 protests, Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, it was just like, oh my gosh, stop.
Yeah, it was just too much. And the flip side too, I think having a show depicting what would it look like for more modern day legalized racism, I think that would make a lot of people look in a mirror they don't want to look into. So I think it's a loaded stick of dynamite, and they didn't want to light it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, I'd be cool if they went back and did it. Because at this point, like, they're pretty well despised by a lot of people. So like, what do you have to lose? This could be like a big, hey, we are good writers.
Hey, Elon, turn Twitter into a streaming service and then pay them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That could happen.
Like overnight, Twitter turns into just a completely different company.
Could be TikTok.
Hey, it could happen. Yeah, it could be TikTok.
TikTok?
No,
Very curious. Yeah.
TikTok.
TikTok.
That's a dangerous
Elon
name.
Purchased Twitter. Yeah, Elon purchased Twitter, and I don't know. I mean, that was a pretty shocking event. He went from owning like 10% to all of it in like 4 days.
It was like a week after I reactivated Twitter. I haven't been on Twitter in like 5 years, and then I made a new account, and then that happened, and I was like, I think Elon saw my Twitter account and he got excited. He got
you inspired him, man.
Yeah, I think I inspired this whole event.
Now, I think we talked. I think Josh is the only one that really. I think Josh is the only one that uses Twitter more than all of us, right? I kind of dip my toes in Twitter for sports related things, but I really don't.
I have it. Yeah, I don't really use it personally that much.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think they're going to change on the platform, if they're going to change anything at all?
Probably censorship algorithms, right?
Yeah, because he's a big proponent. He calls himself a free speech absolutist. So he's like, anything goes. Like, you can say whatever you want. So it'll be interesting to see like because Twitter is already pretty toxic. So it'll be interesting to see like what his ownership will do in regards to that, because it's bad now. It could get worse. It could get better. Who
into
knows?
the tweetverse. Yeah, it'll probably.
He's probably going to try and branch out the service into something else, right? Because Twitter wasn't a super profitable platform to begin with. Like, it's profitable, but when you compare it to Facebook, and
it wasn't profitable for TikTok, I think, until a couple years ago. Like, right. For like over a decade, it was under.
Yeah, so I definitely think that I don't know. I mean, it's cool. I guess on paper, but does that mean Donald Trump's coming back to Twitter? I mean, what does that really mean? Like, are we gonna get our favorite president?
I think he said he wouldn't come back even if they let him.
That's a lie. Okay, that man had hilarious tweets. Whatever you feel about Donald Trump, he's definitely our funniest president. That's all I got to say. That man was Twitter gold. That guy was
whether he intended it or not.
Whether he intended or not, that man was Twitter gold.
I don't know if comedy is some, maybe. I think he definitely was good at getting attention to Twitter.
Yeah, I think he was good at
it's funny. He's unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah, not so much you're laughing with him, more so you're laughing at him.
It's not laughing with him, but he's unintentionally hilarious, okay? Compared to Biden's tweets.
I'm curious, though, like, I bet if you looked at, like, stats, I bet Twitter took a huge nosedive in activity when Trump was banned from the platform.
I'm sure.
I'm curious
in other people. Yeah, in other people who got deplatformed from Twitter, I'm sure.
I wonder how many users just went to Twitter specifically for Trump compared to for other things. Because I don't feel like people really go on Twitter just to kind of scroll their feed. They usually don't they typically go to?
I agree.
Read a specific person's tweets.
To go to something very specific. Yeah, I agree.
Or whatever, either whether it's a brand or a person. So
yeah, it's Twitter's like the place people gather around to watch a dumpster fire.
Yeah,
you're there for a reason.
And that's why Donald's Uncle Don's tweets were so hilarious, right? Because it was Uncle Donnie, Uncle Don. His tweets are hilarious because you're just like, this is a real person tweeting this right now. Like,
I just imagined them remaking The Godfather, but with Donald Trump, and they call it The Don Father.
The Don Father?
Yeah.
I'll give him ideas. He'll do it.
I know. I was going to say that's actually going to become a thing. What's the billboard we saw today? There was it looked like a knockoff Godfather movie.
It's called The Offer.
Oh, it looked.
I think it's going to be.
Is it a movie?
I don't know.
I thought it was a series. Yeah, I think it's about the actual filming around The Godfather.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if you guys know much about that.
It's Alan's experience of making The Godfather.
Yes.
It didn't look good from the billboard, at least.
Fun fact: the mafia wouldn't let them say the word mafia when they made The Godfather.
When they made the movie,
there's a whole. The story behind how they made it, hopefully this series or whatever is good, because it's very interesting.
Well, it says it did premiere April 28th on.
Really?
That's why it's on Paramount Plus. Like no one's gonna watch that.
Please,
wait for Disney to buy them out, But
you joke, but that could happen.
No, it's a thing, and it's funny. Like I had no idea this was coming out because they haven't advertised it very well.
Wait, Netflix should buy out Paramount Plus.
I have heard nothing of this movie either.
Yeah, until we walk by the billboard.
I think that's the problem, right? Like we live in an era where there's literally so many TV shows. Like 20 years ago, during the fall, that's when TV networks would push their TV shows, right? Like during fall, what they call it, Sweeps Week, whatever. And then you would get all the TV shows that they were trying to push, and that's when we would see advertisements for it. Now we're getting TV shows any day of the week. It doesn't matter. It's just boom.
What if there's a plot twist? What if Criterion just buys every company, and then it all goes there? That would
be insane. And then they lock it away. They lock all the content away.
Yeah, they lock it away, and they're like, we're only going to release this on 16mm film, but we're not going to provide any of the equipment for it. So we're going to have to figure that out. And then skyrocketing prices are going to happen on eBay for that.
The most niche way to watch it. That'd be pretty funny.
Are they going to promote it at least?
they'll promote it, but it'll be through time capsules. So you only know if you open certain time capsules in various parts of the world, like 10 years later.
They'll promote it like
Yeah.
they'll promote it like Disney promotes Doctor Strange, where they just
Dude.
drop like
the
little
wazoo.
trailers for 3 years, and they're like, guys, Doctor Strange trailer at the end of your movie, Doctor Strange trailer when you're pumping your gas. We're gonna show you every bit of this movie without actually releasing the film.
And I made a joke about that online. I was like, rumor has it, if you put all the trailers together, stitch them together, you can make the movie.
You probably could.
So many.
There's so many trailers. How many final trailers do we need to see?
Yeah, I wonder if there's a running count for how many trailers and teasers they put out.
We should
Because
count.
it's quite ridiculous. If anyone out there knows, let us know. Because
please,
it's something else, man.
Please. I mean, only other thing I wanted to bring up, if you guys, there has been some rumblings in the video game world, and I know we don't often touch video games too much.
Let's hear it for all our gamers out there.
Yeah, so I think the funniest one to me is Ubisoft. Ubisoft is tanking pretty bad, and they're considering selling the company. So
I thought they were like one of the biggest ones.
They were the third biggest publisher before Microsoft purchased Activision. They're large, but at the same time, they've had a lot of struggles. I don't know if you guys know, they had a bunch of issues with sexual harassment charges. They had a lot of issues with just I don't know if there's a word for it, but like abusing the staff in terms of making them work ridiculous hours or underpaying. Like the laundry list of the working conditions at Ubisoft is really long, and to make matters worse, like their games are doing marketably worse every year. And so I think it's just getting to a point. And personally, as someone who loves Splinter Cell,
dude, yeah,
I love the first
they
one.
refuse to make Splinter Cell games, and it drives me nuts. It's like, this is by far your most popular game, and they just won't release them. I don't get it.
The first 10 years of Splinter Cell, I feel
yeah.
Splinter Cell might have been the first, maybe the first PS2 game I ever played.
You ever play? It's a big series. I mean, between that and there's Assassin's Creed, obviously, but then there's also Prince of Persia. There's all these IPs that they have, and instead they're like Tom Clancy's grocery shop bagging. And they just throwing Tom Clancy's name on literally anything they can find. They're like, Tom Clancy goes to the car wash, and that's a game. And it's like, you can't keep.
I mean, I would play that.
Is that a game?
I would play that too. Yeah. That'd be pretty intense.
Because they pioneered that open world real time play style.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. I don't think it did as well. The novelty wore off really fast.
The novelty wore off fast, partially because a big issue that they had was that they were using the same engine for all of their games, but then the problem came that they all looked the same. The UIs were the same, the worlds were the same. So your brain had a real hard time oh, I'm not playing this game, I'm playing this one. And
it's is this The Division or Ghost Recon? Because I don't know.
Ghost Recon or is this Rainbow Six? Like your brain had a hard time differentiating between the different IPs. So that's going to be interesting. Personally, I don't think Microsoft is going to put a bid for Ubisoft at all, and if they do, it would be a laughably low bid.
I couldn't see Sony doing it either, because I don't feel like that really fits their.
I don't think so either. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit their game model, and we also have to remember
player type things.
Sony has a very big standing in Japan, right? So are the Japanese going to play these games? I think that's another question they have to ask themselves. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know who's going to buy it. I'm praying that EA doesn't. That's really all I care about. But we'll see.
And it's so interesting. We've talked about this a few times, and it's just interesting to see how it's gotten worse and worse for them. And I don't know, they had a toxic work environment, so this was kind of bound to happen eventually. Unfortunate, but it happens. Yeah.
And I honestly, the only reason why you haven't heard more about it is because people don't care about their games as much. With Activision has some of the strongest IPs in the world, right? World of Warcraft,
mostly just
Call of Duty. Yeah. Well, but Call of Duty is still the
Yeah.
number one played game in the world, right? So they have a lot of IPs that people care about. No one cares about not Tony Hawk. No one cares about like I can't even think Rainbow Six Siege. Like as much as people love that game, it's just not as resonant. I guess
It's been like a decade. I feel like since that was relevant.
Yeah.
At least.
And then the last thing I just wanted to touch on was Halo Infinite. So we did I think I just did like a review on Halo Infinite. I love the game. The story was awesome and really thoughtful. In my opinion, I think it's up there with like Halo 2 in terms of like really good story. Like something about first person shooters that's hard is making a story that's interesting, because how do you make a story when the whole gameplay is run here, shoot that? So I felt like Halo Infinite did a really good job making a very thoughtful story. The multiplayer, on the other hand, is straight boo-boo. It is yeah, it's straight boo-boo to quote K Dot. And after like a month of playing it, I was like, I have never been more bored playing a Halo game in my life, which is insane because I've played Halo almost all my life, but it's just not very engaging.
Well, they did a lot of map updates, right?
No. You talking about like when the game came out?
No, not like, isn't that what they're doing soon? Or they announced?
So here's the problem. The game's been out for like 6 months. The gaming industry needs to stop making the rest of your game after you sold it, right? Like if I had a restaurant and you ordered, I don't know, what's your favorite thing to order, Alex, at a restaurant?
Let's just go with carbonara right now.
Carbonara. Okay, perfect. Imagine if I brought you carbonara with no sauce, no guanciale, no pepper, no parmesan, just raw noodles. Okay, and like you're looking at me and I'm looking at you, and I say, "Yeah, this is what you purchased," and you said, "No, I ordered carbonara," and I said, "No, this is what I have. When the rest is ready, I'll bring it out." So after you've eaten about half of your plate, I then come out with parmesan. I then come out with guanciale. And then you're like, okay, this is kind of...
You put the egg on after it's already been cold.
Yeah, I'm cracking the egg yolk like when you're like about 3/4 of the way done. Oh well, I cook, guys. You know that. Come on,
AJ. Hold on. Pause. AJ's a very good cook.
Your boy throws down. Oh, you think I make carbonara with bacon? Please, no way.
Buy that pig cheek and everything.
I find a butcher. I'm like, give me that guanciale, son. But anyways, but yeah, the point I'm making is that would be a very bizarre way to eat your dinner. I don't know why the gaming industry has gone this route. Like they're trying to make the minimum viable product for their game.
Because people will still buy it early.
But it's crazy and it's unfair. It's unfair. Like when you're a kid, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, because you want the game early, like you don't want to have to wait a year to get it. You know?
Yeah, you don't want to have to how sad is it? I loved Cyberpunk 2077, but it's very frustrating to see like they still haven't released the DLC for the game, and the DLC is the rest of the stuff that was supposed to be in the base game. It's just crazy. I don't know what's happening. Like, it's very frustrating. Like the other day, I remember thinking like, I'm getting tired of playing video games, but not because of the video game. Like it's just tired of like my favorite video games, like Battlefield or whatever. It's just very exhausting to have to buy these games and then you play it and then they're like, oh, come back later for the rest. Like that doesn't fly. That doesn't sit well with me. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that drives me crazy.
Bums me out.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah. It's a no-no.
Yeah, it's a no-no. And, I don't know if it's going to change anytime soon because unfortunately, I think we talked about this before, right? Like video games is like the one weird area where like they have constant new customers in the form of kids. You know what I mean? Like you have this immense wave of like fresh 18-year-olds every year buying your Call of Duty, that kind of thing. And it's weird. You don't really have that in any other like market in the world other than like video games. So I don't know.
Music.
Yeah, maybe one day. Oh, well, but even with music, like
it's still more split.
Yeah,
it's more split compared to video games.
Yeah, because can you imagine like Kendrick Lamar releases his album in 12 days, and then like he releases 2 songs, and then you're just like, what? And then like 3 more weeks later,
I meant more with like new audiences, like always.
Oh yeah, but
listening.
But I think the downside with that is like that's an industry thing, right? Like like hip hop is an industry, so they're it's not like one artist can monopolize the industry like video games can. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. You guys have anything else? Kate, any more funeral plans?
Hopefully not.
I'm gonna be thinking about who can come and who can't come.
Whoa! Wow!
There was actually a TikTok recently of someone had their grandma talking about how she wants her funeral to be, and she was like, "And Bertha can't be there." And then all of TikTok went crazy, and they demanded a sequel video be made where this grandma explained who Bertha was and why Bertha's not invited to her funeral.
Bertha really messed up.
I just gotta make
the definition.
No Bertha's at my funeral.
That's the definition of on-site. That's what I like to see. If you haven't texted me in the past year, don't come to my funeral. If you don't know my son, please. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, guys, I think that's all we got. Thanks for listening. If you guys love the show, tell us why. You can find us on our socials. We're big on Twitter, I guess. Elon gave us the fast pass on Twitter. I don't know what it does yet, but he gave us one. We're on Instagram. We're soon to be on what do we call it? Twit-twat?
Twit-twat.
What is it? Tic-tac. Yeah, tic-tac.
Something like one of those.
To hang out with our fellow youths. So,
oh my gosh.
But yes, guys, thank you for listening to our show. We love and appreciate each and every one of you, except you, Bertha. It's on site. Follow us next week, and we have a very special guest on, so stay tuned for news and information about that. And stay tuned for next month. We'll have our next promo for our giveaway, our next giveaway. So make sure you want to follow on social media to get more information about that. Other than that, guys, have a great day. The Bandwagon Fan Podcast is hosted by Josh Jimenez, Alex Melgosa, and me, AJ Soy. Our show is produced by Kate Smith and edited by your boy, AJ. Our social media is managed by Natalia Kokulia, and our theme song, Lush Waves, is provided to us by Taylor Lewin of _audio. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.